Well, good morning, everyone. Good to have you on today. I feel like I'm running behind. Everything I've done this morning, I feel like the faster I go, the behinder I get. So I looked down and I went, it's time to start. So it's time to start. So please introduce yourself. Many of you have already done that, and we'll get started this morning. I've got an interesting agenda. Looking forward to having you all on and participate with us today. So let's see, who do we have today? I want to make sure that I get an opportunity to introduce you. We have James from Pascagoula, Mississippi, who says he's hearing fine. Joy is glad that the thunderstorms might be over in New York, and looking forward to talking about something about give sign, which we're going to do. I took note of your question, Joy, and we will address that this morning. One of the things that Gloria and I do is we try to download that chat session and make sure that we've addressed everything in the webinar by the time we wrap up. And I noticed that we had left that question undone, so we will talk about that briefly this morning. Leah from Charleston, South Carolina, Elaine from London, Herman from the Netherlands. We had an amazing interview with Herman last week, and so I was glad for that. See, who else do we have on this morning? I have a smaller crowd today than normal, but that's okay. We're going to have a great morning, I promise. And we have Sam, as always, from Tennessee. We have Andrea from Italy. And who else do we have? We have Kelly from Orlando. Carol says that she hears the sound just fine, and I think that's the same Carol from Pennsylvania. We have a Carol from Corpus Christi, Texas, too, so I try to keep them straight whenever I can. And we have Jay from Lubbock, Texas, and Mike from Ohio. Anybody else want to introduce themselves this morning? And we have Bob from Scottsdale. What I'm going to do now is just going to lay a little groundwork for our weekly training webinar. First of all, we really appreciate you coming. And this is Eric coming to you from lovely downtown Huntsville, Alabama, where I feel like some days we're living in paradise. It's just an amazing place, and so we enjoy it a lot. It's been a little bit warm, but it's been a nice nice, pleasant spring and summer. So good to have you on today. Now, here's what we want to do. I noticed this morning when I logged in that Webinar Jam that does our webinars has changed their question mode. So down in the bottom, one of the reasons why I have you all introduce yourself, and Thomas is here from Alberta, Canada, and Bob from Scottsdale. One of the reasons why I have you do that is so you'll be able to find the chat session or the chat box, and you'll know how to use that. And we want to know that you're here, and we want to introduce you, and we want to talk about you. So that's what we're doing here. But there's right beside that box that you're chatting in is a drop down arrow, and that drop down arrow now, instead of having a red question mark, has a QA mark. And so if you have a specific question, hello, Kat from Springfield, Missouri, and Vanessa from Atlanta, there's a QA session there. So if you click on the Q&A session, that moves that. No longer does it do the red question mark, but now it does a green QA, and you can put your question there. It's a lot easier to identify that. They made that change right before we went live last week, and I haven't had a chance to change this little image that I have on my screen yet. So we'll do that soon, but I want you to know that if you have a question, make sure you use that green QA button so that it's easy for us to identify that. We don't want to miss your questions. We want to make sure it pops up on our screen as a red question mark still, but we want to make sure that we don't miss your questions. We want this to be as interactive as possible. I do have an agenda to follow, and we'll follow that agenda as closely as possible. If you're not seeing that QA at the bottom, Kat, you may want to, or Kelly, you may want to make sure that you've got your screen moved all the way to the top so that you've got a full screen experience, because that chat box is down there. That should be where it's at, and you shouldn't have any issue being able to log into that. Okay? Yes, there we go. Sam says he has a red question mark showing up on his. So it may be red question mark on your end, and it may be Q&A on mine. I have not seen it from the user standpoint. So as long as you're just identifying the place and you're asking a question and not just doing the normal chat. Gloria and I both had that issue last week. Oh, it changed colors. Well, maybe it's not changed colors on your end, but thank you for using that. It makes it really easy for us to identify that. So let's jump into our agenda today. And looks like Sam's put a question in there. So it looks like it's working just fine as a red question mark. So that's good. Just keep doing just do what you do, because you do it really well. And we just want to make sure that we identify those questions so that Gloria and I don't miss that in the process of this. I have not seen Gloria on this morning, but I'm going to assume that she is here, or she will be here. Sometimes we have a little bit of a delay getting Gloria on. It's very, very early in the morning where she's at. So hopefully she'll be able to join us this morning. So let's jump into the agenda. I've got some things I want to share with you. We're going to do the agenda a little bit differently today than we normally do. And so let's go along here and see what we can get done here. Good morning, Keith. Kat says she lost the audio just before you answered me. I'm not sure what your question was, Kat. Oh, okay. All right. I think that we've answered that with the red question mark. So I think that's it. Kevshaw's in India. Keshav in India. Thank you for joining us today. So let's jump into the agenda. Last week, I talked about the new layouts in Youzign and failed to show those to you. So we'll do that today. And we're going to stop in the agenda and actually do that in just a minute. So I will get on that in just a minute, and that will be answering Joy's question from last week, because she did have that question, and we want to make sure that we get that address. So we'll park at just a moment, and we'll take a minute and we'll answer that question that Joy had having to do with the mockups, and we'll take care of that. I want to give you a little information about the save image features in Youzign. Found some information I think might be helpful to you. We had a little discussion about this last week, and so I want to give you something definitive here, and I'll show you where we got that at. Hi, Mike from Las Vegas. Good to have you on today as well. So those are the two things I'm going to talk about the two platforms and the kind of the new stuff. I want to give you some information about the save image features, and I want to address the mockups in Youzign. So we'll do that in just a minute. Here's what I want you to see about the format information. Actually, we have this. If you have Youzign, you have access to the Youzign Mastermind, and I'll show you where it's at in just a minute, but this is where this information came from, okay? And so this shows you the sizes of file types, and we were talking about that last week, the sizes of the file types. So Sheila from Utah, good to have you on as well. So if you look carefully at this, you notice that there's different images here for JPEG files, but the important thing here is that the difference between JPEG file sizes and PNG file sizes, and we addressed that last week. There is something that you need to be aware of, and that is having to do with the type of compression between the JPEG and the GIF. If you're using JPEG files here, you're going to lose some colors when you make that transition. So if crispness in your GIF file is important, you want to make sure that you use a PNG file. Just keep that in mind. It does make a difference in how large of a file is generated in your playable GIF. But just keep that in mind if you're going to use images in your GIFs. You want to make sure that you use a PNG file for doing that, because it makes the colors more crisp in that file. And then just a little rundown. We talked about this just briefly the other day, but if you have an image with large areas of exact uniformity, but it contains more than 256 colors. Now, I'm not sure how you're going to count those. You know, I just want you to be aware of the fact that to keep the colors crisp, a PNG file is probably your best bet in that situation. And number two is if you want to display a photograph exactly without loss on the web, the PNG is your choice. So keep that in mind. If file size is important, you want to use a JPEG. If crispness and accurate reproduction of your file is important, you want to use a PNG file. Okay, now I did go to my print shop and grabbed their manual on delivering to them images, and they said that they definitely want to make sure that you use a PDF file. And I've been sending them PNG files, and they've been handling it fine, but they prefer a PDF file. So we have the ability to save as a PDF file as well. So there you go. That's a little rundown on the new format changes inside of Youzign. Y'all got very quiet after you introduced yourself, so feel free to jump in and chat with me as we go here, okay? The next thing that I want to talk about before we get to the gift issue that Joy is looking forward to is the guest feature. Last week we had Herman. The week before that we had Stephanie. And I want to make sure that we get a chance to do this. And I want to talk to you about how we do it. I don't have anyone today. Nobody was able to be available. We had talked with Beth briefly last Friday, and she has had some things done that she just was not going to be able to be on until sometime in August. So looking forward to the opportunity to work with Beth. But here's how this goes. Okay, really want to do this. We want to show how people are using Youzign or Youzign. Last week, Herman had some great little gifts and he showed us. And so if you're using either of those platforms and you're getting paid for your work, we want to be able to feature your work. And then in the interview, what we do after the interview is completed, and I do the interview by Zoom. After the interview is completed, we also give you a copy of that video so that you can use it in your own promotions. I know I've given that to the two people. I'm expecting that sometime soon Herman will have a little GIF that he's created with the Muppets background and his face being interviewed by me. And I imagine all these interesting things that Herman can do with his little video that I gave him. But you'll get a video of your interview, which will help you to promote your work. It's something you can use on your website. It's something that you can put in your social media platforms. I have noticed that both of those interviews that people have gone in and watched them on my YouTube channel. And so that's kind of interesting that they're available to be able to do that. So we really want to be able to feature your work. We want you to get that video and use the video for whatever you can do with that. And I need you to either volunteer or nominate someone. If you can volunteer, great. If you know somebody that you think would be amazing and would enjoy the interview process, then definitely nominate them. And there is another benefit of this that I did not put in here with the guest feature, but it's this. Sometimes you'll find somebody who really can take what you want to do and move it to the next level. And we have the ability to be able to share our work inside of Youzign. And so you may discover people that you go, man, I would really like for you to be able to put that little twist that you always do on this. And you can share that work over with them. They can send it back to you. We want this to be a powerful community. So, and in order to do that, it helps if we can highlight what you are. I love the interaction that takes place in the chat sessions while we're having the webinars. I love what goes on in the community, but this is another level that we can take these webinars to by being able to have that guest feature. So either volunteer or nominate someone who you think would be amazing. I see several people who just have great work and they share it with us in the community. If you would like to see how they do that, if you would like to see other pieces of their work, this is the place for you to be able to nominate somebody. And all you have to do is send me a message on Facebook and we'll connect with that person and see if we can make that happen. Okay? Now, this was the question that Joy asked last week that we didn't get a chance to answer. So I'm going to do that real quickly, and I'm going to have to change my screen. So stick with me for a second. Stick with me. And we'll get this correct application up. My gift sign dashboard here. Okay, if you can see that. All right, that looks good. Now, I'm going to grab this right here. I can preview this, but if you go right here and click on the mock-ups, then what you get on this side over here are all of these different mock-ups, and you can put your GIF to run inside of any of these in this way. And keep track of this. With every upgrade, you'll have additional mock-ups that will get added. I know they had some little hiccups in the program this week. We've had a little hiccups with a few things, some of our integrations and other things, and we appreciate you all being patient about that. These guys work very hard to try to get those hiccups out of the way and make things happen. But here are some really cool mock-ups that have been done and put in the library here, and so you've got a chance to be able to see those. And if you want to see what it looks like inside of that, then you can do that. Okay, from here you can download just this one, and then you can continue to test it in other mock-ups as well. Pretty cool stuff that came in the latest upgrade. I mean, I think pretty amazing stuff. I'm really fascinated by the creativity of the team and what they're able to do for us. So what do you think about that? Those little mock-ups that we have available for us now. We've got the new perspective mock-ups. We'll get down here to this and you'll see the perspective mock-ups. The perspective mock-ups look like this. Really like that. Gives us some amazing capabilities. I did this with I used this with some instructions that Gloria had given in the community, and so that was a great way to be able to scroll through that and make that information available for you sitting on a desktop just like that. I'll go back and show you what that was. I think this is it right here. Yes, that was it. And so I took that, put it in here. Well, I did have it in there. So, but that's what you do. You just click on this button right here and you'll see, and the mock-ups will become available for you, okay? And, but that's where you do that from. That should answer your question, Joy. Let's go back to the yeah, everybody says they really like those mock-ups, and I think, and you're going to see more and more creativity in the mock-ups as we go. If the last batch was an indication, then I can tell you that there's some really pretty cool stuff always coming down the pike. So let's go back to the application window here. Let's see where we're at. We're back on the agenda. Always putting really cool stuff in here, and this is our latest little blog post where she comes up, she finds the most fascinating things, and here's 19 hypnotic cinematograph samples that might inspire you. And so check that out. Rose is always good. If you're not a member, if you have Youzign, you're not a member of the Youzign community, then you want to make sure the Youzigners community, make sure that you join that, because you get a lot of these really cool stuff like this, a little inspiration. We do that in both of the Youzigner and the Youzigners and the Youzign community. So make sure that you don't miss out on that. Hey, Susanna. Make sure you have the most recent version of Youzign. Always make sure you have the most recent version of Youzign. And I won't go back there now, but you'll see a little red bell across your bar at the top that'll tell you if you need to upgrade to the latest version of Youzign. And if you're not seeing the mock-ups, that's the problem. If you don't see the ones I just went through, that's the problem, because that's the most latest version, which is version 1.0.13. And make sure that you have that, because that will give you the most current version and all of the mock-ups that are available as of right now. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is from the dashboard, and this is your dashboard at the template menu section. And so I want to first of all point out the fact that we have additional templates that have been added since last week. But this issue right here, how to make your Youzign images clickable in Facebook. This is a great program called LetClicks. What has always happened has been that you could not make an image clickable unless that image was in a fan page only. And LetClicks allows you to create an image that is clickable inside your personal profile. And making that image clickable inside of your personal profile is extremely important. I'm going to take just a second and I'm going to jump into my personal page here so I can show you that. I think it's important enough that we do this, okay? So give me just a second. I'm going to show you. We have created some clickable images inside my personal page, and I think that's really important. So give me a second to get to this, and I will show you what I'm talking about. No reason for you to see all of the stuff, but I want you to see this portion, okay? So here we go. I'm gonna This image has never been clickable before. Always before, if you had an image here, unless it was an article with a URL up here, you could never click on this image and go someplace. People will not click on the URL, but they will click on an image, because what they've been used to doing is having that image then just blow up for them and they can see it, and then they go, well, crud, that isn't really what I wanted to do. But making that image so that you can click on it changes the dynamic drastically. And so, see, when you post an article like this, now Facebook is hiding the link and making the image clickable. You can do exactly the same thing inside of Let Clicks. And that's really an important feature for you to be able to do. Okay. So this one, in this case, this is a share onto my page, but this image is clickable and it takes you to the sales page. And this is really an important thing for you to be able to do. It's a great way for you to build a list, to build an audience. It's a great way to get engagement with your people. So I wanted to take just a moment and show you how that works, and you could get a chance to see how you can make an image clickable inside of your personal page, which you've never been able to do before. And you can do that now with Let Clicks. I don't know. I thought there was a chance that Danny might have joined us this morning. I don't know if Danny's on or not, but I wanted to give him some kudos for what he and Kim have done with this amazing piece of software. I just think it does really, really cool stuff. So, being able to click on an image is very important. Okay, so any questions about that as we go? How many of you now? Little information right here that's very, first of all, integrates seamlessly with Youzign. Okay, but this is a image that I captured in Youzign. This is the smart mockups participation that we have, and I followed the specifications that you find right here, and that makes that image just look perfect. It looks just perfect inside of the in your news feed or wherever it is that you're going to use that. And so I really, really appreciate what they've done with that tool. So that's the first thing. And then if you're going to be using images, you want those images to be clickable, you're going to be making money from the images. And that's what we're all in the business to do, right? We're all in that business to be able to do that. And so we want to make sure. Good morning, Gloria. Glad to have you on with us today. We were just talking about the clickable images from Let Clicks and how valuable a tool that can be. But we want to make sure that we're using images that we don't have any issues with. And we're constantly aware of that in Youzign because we're an image-driven company. We're constantly aware of the fact that you need to have access to some amazing images. And so we're always looking for opportunities. We're always looking for a way to we're always looking for a way to get you good quality, high quality images that you have no issues, no legal issues, no copyright issues, none of those things associated with. And so we're offering this week, and we're at the end of the week, and so it's about to expire, but we're offering Youzign workspaces, which gives you the ability to be able to build a workspace that you can use. And this was in this case, this was a mock-up that we'd used from Smart Mockups, but maybe you want to build your own space, you want to do your own thing, and you want to do something like that. So, yes, Mike, it's Let Clicks. Just simply go to just go to the dashboard. You'll find it on the dashboard right here. how to make your Youzign images clickable in Facebook. And this is a very, very important thing to do. We've just started using it just a few weeks ago, and we're seeing amazing results with people clicking images now that we had not seen before. And so we didn't have the ability to be able to do that. And by using this, it really makes a difference. So, so I think you'll enjoy that capability, and it expands what you can offer to your clients, and that's really important. Okay, so let's talk about stock design workspaces for just a moment. You want to have royalty-free, high-quality images that you can use, and we're at the tail end of this offer, but it's very important that you see what you're capable of doing. You can build your own workspace. This is a group of elements that they've put together here and created a workspace from it. And so there's some really cool stuff that you can do. I'm going to show you that in just a little bit when we go to the dashboard. We'll show you how you put those things together. There are a ton of images inside of this offer. I think there's 450 images there that you have complete developer rights, and you can use them anywhere that you want to do that. And that offer is available at stockdesign.com/desk. And I have that offer available right here. Let me load that for you so that you can have that and take advantage of that before it expires. Okay. And so you should have that Stock Design Workspaces offer image available in your chat area on Webinar Gem. Gloria, if you could grab the URL to that and drop that in the discussion session, that would be good too. That way people have got a chance to do this. We're going to pull all these pieces together like we talked about last week. We're going to start finding ways to pull these pieces together for you so that you can see how the combinations of those things can be really advantageous to you. I showed you just a minute ago how that I used smart mockups and an image that I had captured in Youzign, and how we put those together to put them in let clicks so that you could make that image clickable inside of your Facebook personal page. Which is really important in your personal profile that you have those clickable images. So grab that offer right now. Make sure you don't miss out on that. That's less than 8 cents an image. And the combination of those things are really cool. And we go all the way back to old school and all the way up to very, very modern looking images as well. Okay? So we'll talk about that when we get to the workspace. I have a question for you before we move on. And this is before we go away from the agenda. This is a really important question. We asked this last week. Tons of you said, yes, we want to do that. Now, I want you to do this for me. I was going to make a list, and we were going to go through it. But you know what you have seen that integrates with Youzign. You see that. We've talked about let clicks. We've talked about several other things. Good morning, Tyree. We've talked about let clicks. We've talked about other tools that we had. We had Viper a couple of weeks ago. Which of those things would you like to see in the webinar? And I want you to just write in the chat box right now the products that you think you would like to see us pull together. I had several people the last time that we offered images. I had several, and those were the silhouette images that we had. I had several people put in the chat box that they were really interested in the offer, but weren't sure how they were going to use it. And so I created a book on fishing and took the silhouette and put it around the outside cover of the book, and it looked amazing. And people went, oh, now I understand why we could use those. And now I understand how we can use those. And I took a couple of those and I dropped them inside of the, a GIF that we were creating in Youzign, and you saw how those things could be used. And so sometimes the reason why we get something and we set on it, or we get something and we refund it, is because we don't know how to use it. So if you're questioning, what do I do? What kind of product? What do I do with this product? Or I would really be interested in buying that product if. then put that product that you've got the question about, put that product in the chat box, and Gloria and I are going to figure out how we're going to be able to offer that to you so that we can maximize the benefit that you get from the things that you do with us. What makes it possible for us to be able to offer this webinar every Friday is your participation in these programs. And I had somebody call me several months ago and said, I found that this offer that Youzign making, I found it for $3 less somewhere else. And I said, but do they do a Friday webinar? No. Do they provide support? No. Do they have an active community on? No. Well, that $3 doesn't seem very important after you put those other things around it, does it? No, it doesn't. You're right. Thomas is asking if we have access to motion cartoon characters, and the answer to that question is no. We have, Michael, I'm not sure. I know that there were some questions about that, and yeah, thank you, Gloria, for answering that question in that way, because I need to go there with that. Need to check out what's going on with the Explain DO3 right now. That would be helpful to us as well. So I'll look into that. Thank you for putting that as a question. That makes it easier for us to track that. So, but just list there the things that you would like to see. And it's pretty quiet. We're not getting very much after everybody said last week that that's what they really wanted to do. Let's hear from you. What products would be helpful? I mean, I can think of 1,000 things I can do with this workspaces in StockZine. I just would, because you can't get images of a rotary dial phone with a cord on it. I mean, you just can't get those. And so, but you can get them in this StockZine offer. You can get a rotary dial phone with a cord on it in this StockZine offer. Pretty cool stuff. I actually even found a Youzign Mat 124G image, which was really cool. So we're going to go to the dashboard now. We're going to talk about those things. And if you have any questions, be sure and hit us up right here. Gloria is doing a good job of staying caught up with the questions. And so let's jump over to our Youzign. Hold on with me while I move some things around here. I dropped something on my mouse, and I have got, when I scroll my mouse, I have like 25 pages that open up. So I had too many windows open. Yeah, you're going to have to, Leah, you're going to have to stick with the things that we're currently integrated with and that are currently available on the market. Okay? I understand what you're asking, but make sure that we stick with the things that are, you can make a request for the integration, but for what we're asking about here, we would like to stick with the things that that are currently available. Like when I mentioned Let Clicks a minute ago, that are currently available, and things that would be already integrated. Okay. Okay, Ken, that's a great question. We spent some time on that early on. There are some great tools and great tutorials available in the support, and so Gloria will drop the URL for that in the chat here in just a second. So let's take a look at the dashboard here. I'm going to that's where you see the Let Clicks thing that we just went from, the clickable instructions. And so I'm going to load this one that I used just a minute ago, and this is one of the images. Now, that by itself, it looks so cool. So what I did was I grabbed some other things directly from that. First of all, I thought this was a really cool looking desktop. typically kind of looks like mine. You see a nice little reflection here in the monitor, except for the fact that my monitor would have fingerprints on it. But you see a nice little reflection here. You have an empty coffee cup, which is exactly how my coffee cups usually are. But if you can grab this, I want to create a floor underneath this. And I'm going to turn this so that this is basically at the same angle as that desktop so that things don't look totally confusing. We'll stretch this out just a little bit. Grab our corners, pull that out. Again, this is how you show the off element or off canvas elements, which are right here. And so I'm going to stretch that out a little bit further here, like that. So it's like a giant wood floor. Move this all the way to the back. And now we have this here, okay? Bit of a problem because this area looks like it's suspended in midair. So let's grab another background that's available for you in the stock design workspaces. I'm going to match that desktop up like that as though it were a desktop. We'll grab this, pull that out like that. And now move that up to the edge right here. Move that back a step. And now that looks like it's sitting on a desktop. When I turn this off, that's what you have is how I created the image that's there. Okay, so those are part of the elements that you have. So let's take a look at some of the other things. I started loading these this morning. So let's take a look at some of the other things that are available here. Okay. My favorite, oops, that was not what I wanted to do. My favorite, you can't have, there's no way that you can create a workspace that doesn't contain a coffee cup. It has to contain a coffee cup. So we're going to create a workspace here that contains a coffee cup. The problem is that we're going the wrong direction for a desktop. So let's turn this around like this. Stretch this out a bit. Like that. Grab a few elements. Put those elements on top of this. Like this. You gotta have a coffee. You gotta have a coffee cup. And that still looks like a giant coffee cup. That's better. I can't work without glasses, so I gotta have my glasses. And this is so typical for my office. So I'm gonna show you how typical my office is. Create this so they're proportionally correct. Just like that. And then I need to have this because one pair of glasses is never enough. And I always have to be taking notes. Now, this gets cut off right here, so we want to make this whole thing the other edge, and we're going to drop it off the other way. Now, here's the way you do that, okay? I'm going to click on an image there, click on an element there, click on one there, and I lost my coffee cup and fell behind. Save that group. We're just going to keep it together as a group. I don't need to save it. I just need to move it. So I'm going to move it over here like this. Grab that coffee cup and get it back up there where it goes. And we'll put a background behind that so it looks like the carpet. Grab this and flip it this direction right here. And that'll look like it's sitting on the edge of a table. And bada bing, bada boom, you have created a workspace. Okay, how does that look? Let me make sure we've caught up here. Got some questions being asked here, so let's make sure we get the questions. And make sure that you put the questions with question marks. It's a lot easier for me to do that, okay? So does that look kind of typical for, I had that. Lost my coffee cup. Got to put my coffee cup in here because there's one thing I want you to see about this. It's really important. Get my coffee cup so it's the right size. Now, you can also, because these are ping images, you can also do this. You can add a shadow to those, and we can make our shadow directional here. So I've just added a little shadow to the outside of that. I can add a shadow to this element right here. I have to ungroup that. I can add, move that all the way to the back, and get my coffee cup back out where it belongs. Get rid of this one. And now, okay, this one has to go all the way to the back. There we go. Now my coffee cup's got a little shadow to it. I can put a little shadow on here. And it begins to change the way this looks. Okay. I can add a shadow here. And because it's a ping file, what's happening is that shadow follows the outline of the image itself. And I can move the distance out. I can increase the opacity of that shadow and make it look rather amazing. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? It does kind of have a built-in shadow, and so you want to play with that. There are a whole bunch of coffee cups. Obviously, I just wanted to show you the shadow around the outside of it. Obviously, you have real workspaces because there are lots and lots and lots of coffee cups. Okay, great question, Stephen. We talked about that one day, and we're working on creating folders for your uploaded images. That has been on the agenda. That is a gigantic project. That's been on the agenda for some time. And we want to be able to create folders and want to make those folders searchable. But remember, when you're creating something this size, and we're trying to keep it as simple as possible, when you're doing something of this magnitude, when you change something here or you add something here, you run the potential of it affecting everything else. And so they've been working on this for a while, and it is definitely something that they want to do. And it just takes an awful lot of work to get it done. Just understand that it's not as easy as it sounds. So I showed you in a webinar a couple of months ago how to utilize your folders. And the reason why you're getting those offers in Dropbox folders is because, and you can't see this the way that I do it, but when I open up the folder, all of those images are stocked in a Dropbox. Let me see if I can do this here and make this easier. Give me a second. I'm going to go to my Dropbox account. Do this. See, here are the images in the Dropbox account. And so from this Dropbox account, I can grab this image and I can drop it in. Now, the problem is that once it's there, it's inside of Youzign. Easier to maintain them outside of Youzign. It's a lot easier to maintain them outside the Youzign. What's the question? Why is everything on the floor? I can throw a shadow on there and change the way that looks so that it looks like it's on the edge of a desk over the top of a carpet. I've got the shadows going the wrong direction to do that. You have to change shadows around. But you can make that happen very easily. As a matter of fact, I'll do it when I go back there. But the reason why these are available to you in Dropbox is so that you can grab these images and you can move them and put them where you want to go. Tom, how to access the workspaces, I put the offer up there. Gloria will drop the URL in the chat so you can access that too. Gloria, do you have that URL easy to drop in the chat box? If you can do that, I'd appreciate it. But the reason why we have them here is because they're easier to maintain. You can see them here. They're easier to access here than they would be if you had them. Like here are all your background images. Here are the giveaways that were available to you. And so you can open up that giveaways file. They're put in Dropbox so that it's easy for you to manage those images from there. Okay. That's the best thing that we can do right now. That offline element is a lot easier. So yeah, that's now, Stephen, you've nailed it. If you will, and I know these are not as searchable looking as they seem, but it does give you the ability to be able to see them when you're inside of Dropbox. Dropbox gives you the best images here. I can click on this image here, and then I can literally scroll through them by clicking on the arrow here. So if you don't have Dropbox, I highly recommend that because this is a great, see there you got an old Bell System phone. How cool is that? But this gives you the ability to be able to scroll through them, and it's a pretty good system for that, and it helps you to be able to do that. All right, hopefully that'll help, Stephen. But we've done a couple of webinars where we've talked about storing off of and outside of Youzign in a system, either using Dropbox or Google Drive or something where you can put all. Because I looked the other day, I have over 18,000 images in Google Drive, and I probably have 15,000 in Dropbox. So finding them is always going to be a challenge. But they're easier to maintain inside of those folders, and the suppliers are getting better about being able to do that as well. So those are just things to keep in mind. One of the disadvantages is that we end up in our uploads here with stuff that we're never going to use again. So when you have some time, you might want to go in and drop those out of and just delete them. Okay, I needed a picture of my son and his daughter without his mother-in-law in the picture, and so I had that and cropped it and used it. But now if I were to take these shadows, question that was asked a while ago, why are you showing everything on the floor? Because I'm trying to illustrate something for you is what I was trying to do. I can move this distance out a little bit. I can put this down here. Well, that's not going to look correct, but take this and I can drop a shadow on here and move it this way, and it starts to add depth to that. Okay, just like that. No, right now we cannot delete more than one image at a time, Ken. That's the problem, is that we have that managing in bulk is an issue. And that's where the real complication comes from. That's where the part that gets very, very hard to do comes from. And so But they're working on that. Just trust me, they're working on trying to get that taken care of without sacrificing anything else. Okay? Do I have a monthly subscription to use 2D or 3D effects of a photo in Youzign? I'm not sure what your question is, Susanna. I'm not really sure what that is. Okay, so that's how you kind of use your mock-ups in here. Some cool stuff that you can do with that. If you were to take that table and move it all the way over, because some reason that's making some people nervous about having that table there like that. But I could actually make that table bigger, and well, at least I thought I could. Looks more realistic there. All right, I'm looking to see if we had any other. Yeah, Ken, I wish that were possible. I really do. So, yes, all of the images that we're looking at here, those all came from Stockzine, the Stockzine workspaces offer that's being made right now. They all came from Stockzine. You can see this is that image that I used earlier in this little mock-up that we did here. And so, but this gives you the ability to be able to create your own mock-ups, and being able to create your own mock-ups is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool feature. Okay, any questions? Questions as we go. You've had tons of questions. Hopefully we've answered them pretty good. A while back you showed a 3D effect of a logo that you had created. I could not recreate the same effect. Okay, let's play with that. That'll be kind of fun. Not too difficult to do. Let's see if we can get it. We got to get all of our elements off of the screen, and so let's do that. And that will allow us to be able to do something here. We'll take a let me get it. Let me grab a text, make it big enough I can see it, and then we duplicate the text and do that with it right there. Really simple to do. You can change the color a little bit. Sometimes you can add a shadow and have that shadow point the same direction as your 3D is pointing, and it helps a little bit like that. That gives you more of a 3D look. I believe that's the question that you're asking, Susanna. Good question, Tyree. Let me grab that. But make sure, yeah, like Gloria's saying, make sure you use the, I'm going to do it with this light bulb, and I'm going to put a black background on here to make this a little bit more visible for us. Okay. Because it's the same thing with the light bulb as it is with the cup. So I want to take that, I'm going to put a shadow with it, and I do it just like that. I'm going to make this exaggerated so it's easier for you all to see. Just like that. And because these are ping images, the shadow follows the actual image itself. Okay? Does that help, Tyree? All right. Any other questions? Just about time for us to wrap up. These little 3D images like this are really cool. They are. So you can get them so that they look pretty close to 3D like that. You can actually change the color here. Sometimes helps. I can take this shade up a little bit more. Make that a little darker. And this one actually has, get rid of that. This one actually has And by playing with the outline, the border, you can do some interesting stuff. See? And I can connect the border now with a similar color, and then I've got that. Okay? Kind of fun to play with that. Grady, additional fonts has been talked about a lot. It's a priority thing. You can still use system fonts, but there's a lot of things you can't do with system fonts. Looking to see if we've missed anything at all. Yeah, you can do straight text with system fonts. It's the other things that become very complicated. All right, I think that has pretty much answered the bulk of the questions. I don't see anything else. So make sure that you take advantage of the stock design offer. Make sure that you check out Let Click so that you can make your images on Facebook clickable. And make sure that you have an awesome weekend, okay? Tom, it is it's the mock-up button where you have your GIFs stored. It's your opening screen. If you click on the lower left-hand corner of each of those images that you have stored there, you will find the dashboard that I was using. Okay? All right. Thank you very much for joining us today. Appreciate that. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And we'll look forward to seeing you back here next Friday, same time, same place, same everything. And we'll have a brand new set of things to share with you on Friday. Okay? Have a wonderful weekend. Look forward to seeing you next week.